Welcome to my basement, everybody, or welcome to E3 2016.
Biggest
My pals
basement
are
yet.
here. I
Biggest
know.
basement yet.
California's basement.
It's cavernous. We have hit the Los Angeles Convention Center hard. We have seen all kinds of games, and I think we're going to start with our biggest surprise of E3 2016. What do you think? Foops, what do you think?
I
Biggest
think
surprise.
biggest surprise was honestly the lack of surprise.
Damn, you took mine, Foobs.
Oh.
You totally took mine.
I'm sorry. No, like I every year at E3 you usually get that one big aha, what, that came out of nowhere. Last year PlayStation just blew everyone away with all the announcements that they made during their press conference. And this year, like, we were expecting Zelda, and we got Zelda.
Yeah.
And Microsoft announced that they're bringing a new console out, and then they announced that they're bringing out another new console.
No, they didn't announce. That was all leaked.
Oh,
Microsoft.
well, that was leaked, but
Yeah.
I mean, it was announced
Yeah.
at E3 that,
Yeah.
you know, they have not one but two new consoles coming out. Sony was like, let their games do the talking, so it was like, okay. It was cool to see Kratos.
Yeah.
So maybe God of War?
Yes,
The way-
absolutely.
the way
God
that
of War.
God of War
But
was released,
Not
yeah.
just the way that came out as the first thing, and it was a kid, and
And
you
there was
hear
a
the
live
voice.
orchestra with 8 teraflops.
I mean,
No.
that moment, I think for me, when it was revealed that not only was it God of War, but it's a totally different God of War. This is God of War, this is Dad of War. This
Yeah.
is a father
Son of
now.
War.
It's about the father and the son and this experience. And this is like such a crazy switch
Yeah.
from a series that was all about sort of the power fantasy of just killing and murdering. And now it's about like actually being a responsible sort of crazy murderer or something.
With a lot of murdering, killing, thrown in.
There is. There's a
Parenting
lot-
and murdering.
There's a lot of killing, but I thought that for me was the biggest surprise of the show is that they not only brought God of War back, but that it looks and feels like this.
And a bearded Cory Barlog played the game on stage and then
Yeah.
talked about it.
Yeah.
Steve, what was your biggest surprise?
I think the biggest surprise was the kind of the disconnect between Xbox and PlayStation this year. Like
Yeah.
Microsoft came out, there was a lot of talking, not a lot of stuff to show, not a lot of stuff that really grabbed us, nothing we didn't know about. We knew the Xbox One S was coming. We kind of had a sense they might talk about Scorpio. But then Sony came here with like game after game, and yeah, some of it's stuff that's coming like way down the line, like
Yeah.
Spider-Man and stuff that's going to be like years away.
Kojima's new game.
Kojima's
Right.
new
Spider-Man
naked
is
Norman
great.
Reedus
Like,
simulator.
won't it?
Kojima's tech demo, that's all that
Yeah.
Kojima had for us.
But I mean, it's Sony just really seems to understand that if you let the games do the talking,
Yeah.
that's all you need. And it's sort of weird that Microsoft still isn't quite caught up with that.
Yeah.
Not that they had a poor showing, but they kind of are still doing the whole. Here we are. Let's have all our talking heads come out on stage. And Sony's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
here, just look at the games. Play
Especially
the games.
compared to last year when Xbox came out with game after game after game after game after game after game, and then
Yeah.
Sony kind of took that, made it their own this year.
I think Xbox had arguably one of the biggest game surprises at E3 with We Happy Few. I think that was something that caught all of our attention.
It's creepy.
And they had a nice demo with it, and they have a nice showing. It's on multiple screens here. It's a smaller game, but it looks like it's getting the big budget treatment from Compulsion Games, and I was really impressed by that. I thought that was very cool, and I could feel for all the journalists that were watching it at the press conference, it all kind of took our breath away. It was
Well,
such a creepy thing.
And it was interesting watching Microsoft, who have obviously invested pretty heavily in ID at Xbox, and
Yeah.
they're trying to establish themselves
Yeah.
as sort of the indie platform, which Sony has actually sort of owned as well.
Yeah.
And this year, Sony didn't really do much of that at all.
No.
They came out with blockbusters, and Microsoft said, okay, listen, we're going to own that indie space a little
But
bit
they
more.
won that, I think, and it's pretty. I mean, there's no contest. That Sony show was
Yes,
probably one of the
undoubtedly.
best press conferences ever, even coming off after the last few of incredible ones that they've
Yeah,
had.
yeah.
But with these games, they were like indie games with big budgets, like they were emotional games that we cared about the characters,
We saw what happened the last time they invested in indie games big time on the big stage.
Yeah.
And that was No Man's Sky,
Right.
which wasn't
Right.
even here at E3.
Yeah.
But you know what? Sony does what I think more companies should be doing with E3. They've been hearkening back to the days when, and you and I have talked about this a lot, E3 was about beacons.
Yeah.
It was about lights on the tops of mountains. It wasn't about what was coming out in 6 months or in 5 months.
where
It was
we could
about
go.
where are we going to go? What's
Yeah.
coming in a year or two? Like,
Yeah.
what are we, not just you're going to buy your system, you're going to play this in a couple months. You're going to buy your system, and this is what we're working on to surprise you and delight you further down the line.
Which is
I love love that part of E3, and Sony's the only one who really delivered that.
And that was the biggest mistake with Scorpio, right? I mean, I think we're all excited that it's coming. I think it's going to be an amazing platform. They're really positioning it to be the most powerful game console ever made. I'm excited about that.
It's a year and a half away.
But what does that mean?
There's just no reason for it to be even mentioned.
What does
prior
it
to
look
screen.
like?
Right.
Like, what does that actually look like?
And that's the
right?
thing. Having waited and mentioned it at E3 next year, saying it's going to be out in 5 months,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
But I mean,
They didn't even show it. It just showed people excited about it.
Yeah.
And they mentioned teraflops. Over and over.
Yeah,
teraflops is a big deal this year. It's all about 6
Teraflops,
versus
biggest
8,
surprise
9,
of the
17 teraflops. I feel like it raised more questions than answers just
Exactly.
by kind of even
Yeah.
mentioning it. Like,
Yeah.
no one's, there's one big family. We make a game and it's for all these systems. And you're like, I don't
That
buy that
messaging was
for a
confusing too.
minute. Are you
Yeah.
It's like,
kidding
so
me?
Yeah.
I can play Xbox One games on my Scorpio, but I mean,
And frankly, the S was exciting enough.
Right.
So it felt like there might have been a disadvantage by Xbox having to go before Sony,
Yeah.
and Sony not showing the Neo, and they were like trying to one up the Neo before it was unveiled, and they didn't even show it, and then they got caught in a position where they had to talk about something.
They'll show it when it's ready.
Yeah, I mean,
PlayStation.
yeah, we don't know. I mean, anyways, it was very interesting. And then meanwhile, Nintendo, not surprising because
what
they told
a
us they were
lineup at
gonna
the
have-
Nintendo booth this year.
Yeah,
One
my
big-
God.
Quite the diversity of games.
A lot of kiosks.
They brought in real grass.
They did.
There's real grass.
Can we talk for a minute, though, about that booth? Because that booth
It was a celebration.
is bananas.
Yeah.
And as
It's
much
like
as
Disneyland.
as we're giving them hell over the fact that they really, and they did have other games, by the way. They did have some 3DS games at the show, but like
Yeah.
the fact that they focused only on one game, we've been giving them hell. But really, that game was, I think, the star of E3 for
Yeah.
everybody who was at E3 and,
Yeah.
and wasn't really in meeting rooms the whole time. That had a line going around the entire
Yeah.
West Hall, the entire show.
Everybody
that booth
wanted
was
hands on.
incredible. The
Absolutely.
game is really cool. Like, they really did, even though it was only one thing, boy, they did that one thing well.
All right, well, that's that biggest surprise. I think that's a good discussion about that. Let's talk about the company that we think did the best here at E3. And that could be a publisher or a developer. It could be about their booth. Just a corporation in general. You and I had a bit of a discussion. But what do you
I've
think?
got this. This for me
Yeah.
actually is a developer.
Yeah.
It's Insomniac.
Yeah.
Because, listen, Insomniac's been a great developer and they've done good
We
work.
love those guys.
I
yeah.
do, and from Sunset Overdrive to Ratchet, these guys have made some great games. But I am stunned by what they came out with at E3, and I'm
Yeah.
not just talking about Spider-Man, which
Yeah.
well, I think surprised us that it was Insomniac and not Sucker Punch.
very much, yeah.
Sucker Punch with Infamous and with
Yeah.
the Sly series, they know how to do this kind of game.
Absolutely.
It's going to Insomniac. That's the first one. Then they had that small underwater game, which kind of an
Yes,
indie
Song of the
feel.
Deep or something?
Yeah, Song
Yeah.
of the Deep,
Yeah.
which felt
Yeah.
like a bit of an indie game. And
That
then,
was very cool, by the way. I played that at the
Very
Xbox
cool.
showcase and loved it.
Very cool. And then, for me, another one of the surprises of the show is actually a VR game called The Unspoken
Yeah.
that they're working on, which is kind of a Harry Potter meets Discs of Tron
Right.
in a VR player versus player slinging. Yeah, and then you take that joint and you throw it at someone, and then you catch the joint and you stick it in the and you do it. It was totally amazing, and I was stunned that it was another Insomniac joint. These guys are making so many
They
different.
make great joints,
They
man.
make great joints.
Yeah.
I just can't believe how many different kinds of games.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about Naughty Dog or other really well-known developers,
I
they
agree.
tend to make the same sort of game. These guys are making all kinds of
Round
totally
of
different
applause
games.
for Insomniac.
Yeah, like, way to go, guys.
way to go.
They're, like,
that's what
staffing up.
That's what we want out of E3, right? We want
Yeah.
unpredictability. We want to have games that we didn't anticipate and from companies that we know can do things like, and they did that. I wholeheartedly agree.
Totally.
Yeah. What about you, Steve?
Well, I got to say, I mean, like we were mentioning earlier, Sony as a publisher and a first-party developer kind of knocked it out this E3. Not
Yeah.
only did they have stuff like Horizon, stuff like Days Gone, stuff that we were actually able to see being played, God of War, one of the biggest surprises. But then you look at all the PlayStation VR stuff, and there were some big surprises on that side too,
Yeah.
like Resident Evil 7 playable in VR, Batman Arkham VR. So we finally got our first real taste of what the PlayStation VR is really going to offer. And I mean, I own a Vive. I sort of got the high-end VR experience. The PlayStation VR stuff I played here, which we'll go into more in a minute,
Yeah.
is actually pretty good. The fidelity is pretty good. The experience is really good with the whether with the Move controllers or a regular controller. So Sony just kind of had one game after another. Said, I want to play that. I want to play that.
Right.
You spent half an hour playing Horizon, and it was like you just went by in a flash. I was like, I need more of this game. It's just they just came to the show with this breadbasket overfull
Yeah.
of things to show us. And I feel like, at least on the platform side, they're kind of walking away with it this year.
I didn't check out Farpoint, but I heard very good things.
That was
about
also
that.
super cool.
Really cool,
Yeah.
amazing controller,
Yeah.
this gun controller, and also the Last Guardian, right? Like they had a
It's like
45-minute
people
demo.
forgotten about
By
it,
the way, the
they got
Last
so much
Guardian,
stuff.
they had a
Did
45-minute
you guys
demo.
get on that?
I refused to play it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I refused
Because you want to play it when it's done.
It's
Exactly.
been too long. I got to play it.
October
Blake
25th.
is feeling like there might be something wrong with it, and they're trying to not.
There's something wrong with
Maybe
Blake,
there's something
really.
wrong with Blake. Look at that
Obviously,
guy.
Yeah, there's something wrong with Blake.
Turn the camera around
I
for a
think
minute there,
we've
Blake.
we've all
Show the
agreed
world
on
what's
that.
wrong with
Okay, what are we going to score Blake out of 10?
Yeah, I don't know.
I give this game to Blake out of 10.
Favorite camera guy of show.
All right, so is there a company that you've seen that you want to talk about the porn company?
Yeah, I was going to say Naughty America really knocked it out. They have this game where you lube up your HTC Vive and then you can. No, they didn't.
I wouldn't fit in there,
Yeah.
That hole needs.
No, I do.
Guys, very personal. What TMI?
Wow.
What's happening? All right, go
Steve, I
ahead.
told you not to talk about that demo. You did.
Don't touch me after that. Please don't touch me after that. Makes me
No,
uncomfortable.
I have to go back agreeing with Sony. Came out, knowing that the PlayStation VR is coming out this year,
Yeah.
they need to get people excited about it because
Right.
there's all this VR that people have been pissed about delays and not getting the products when they pre-ordered it in time, and there hasn't been that what Avatar was to 3D experience for VR.
Right.
And I'm still waiting to hear about it. I'm still waiting to hear that person
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
like, I sat down and played this game in VR for 8 hours,
Yeah.
and I almost lost my mind because I forgot I was there.
Yeah.
Everything has been in sort of these bite-sized, condensed chunks, and that's fine.
Even Batman.
Even Batman,
Yeah.
which was still kind of cool, but they need to push hard in making everybody know that VR is in fact going to be worth the $400 that you're going to have to pay for just the headset. You still have to get the controls.
Certainly what Sony did this year is they didn't rest on their laurels, and by rights they could have. Like the PlayStation 4 is selling really well. We know there are machines there are new games that are coming. The developers understand this hardware. They're very happy with it. People seem to be very happy, but they didn't rest, and they in fact showed what the future is going to be, and they came out very, very hard with title after title after title, and they also, I think, have a very convincing argument because of the strength of that roster and that commitment to jump into VR. I mean, they look like, well, I'm going to rely on these guys. They're obviously supporting this machine. They'll support this one too.
It feels like all the money they're making
Yeah.
on all these consoles or on all these games, they're reinvesting back into it.
Right.
Like you really feel the money out of Sony. Like
Yeah.
there are big studios making big games. They have big hardware with a million different people working. I mean, I played Psychonauts VR. Like, by the way,
Yeah.
that's here. Like,
Yeah.
it just goes on and on. You're right. Like the list goes forever. One other company I wanted to talk about though that always has a solid showing at E3, and again, Ubisoft of the third-party publishers.
Sure, yeah.
That company just kind of routinely comes to E3, and they have their own press conference, and it kind of can sometimes be good, sometimes it can be bad.
It's always weird and personal
It's always-
too,
yeah,
though,
it's always-
which I like.
I like that, yeah.
Like,
But I really,
yeah.
I was in their booth and looked at some games, and I really realized, boy, I could sit here for a couple hours with these games.
Oh,
'cause
yeah.
These are some big titles.
Ghost Recon was fun.
Very fun.
They're
And
doing
Watch
a
Dogs
lot
is
of
very
stuff.
fun,
Watch Dogs,
too.
yeah. I mean, they have Bushman
Yeah.
on Fisherman's Wharf in Watch Dogs. And it's a little thing, like if you're not from San Francisco, you might not get it, but they showed it in the trailer, and I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
Nailed it.
Honor's fun. South Park's, we know
South
South
Park
Park's
is
going to be
going to
great.
be-
Like,
Steep is
Amazing.
the only
It's a-
one that I'm concerned about.
Yeah.
There are two.
Yeah.
There are actually. Let's have a talking piece here about the games that we're concerned about. I think
Oh.
that would be very interesting. Okay.
Okay,
All right.
right.
We're going to talk about that in a second. But let's talk VR. Okay.
Okay.
I didn't try any VR again.
Why, Vic?
My hair is still working okay, fine by the end of the show, so I didn't try any VR.
I would just like to point
Steve
out
tried
that
VR
for
and
months,
look at his hair.
Nothing
Look
happened.
what happened.
I had a full head of hair when this week started.
for months you've
is
been
my head on
saying,
VR.
I will try it.
I brought my
E3.
hat.
You have a toque.
But the hair was working, and the first appointment was Batman VR, and I knew we had to shoot. And I can't crush it. So after we're done, I'm going to do
Priorities, Victor.
Batman
Victor,
VR. after.
VR
Priorities.
before vanity.
Okay.
VR
all right.
before vanity.
Vanity.
Yeah.
All right. So, but you guys all spent much time in VR.
Yeah.
Favorite VR experience?
I would, like Ben was saying, The Unspoken is an amazing, kind of like that fantasy of being a wizard, being a mage, casting spells, using your hands. Like I'm pulling up these little arcane items and yanking out this hammer that I hit on an anvil, it turns into a fiery spear, and I'm throwing it at my enemy.
That's right.
That was super cool. Ripcoil, another kind of like almost more like a Tron game, throwing a disc back and forth, trying to score on another guy. played VR hockey, man. I was the goalie in VR sports hockey.
Were there other
making
people
saves.
playing?
Well, there were AI playing, you know. They
AI,
were shooting
okay.
on me.
But they were showing co-op VR with that Eagle Flight game.
Yeah,
and the,
no,
and
there was
the
a
Star
ton
Trek
of,
Bridge
ton
Commander.
of VR here.
Yeah.
So I got to say, probably either the Unspoken or Ripcoil, although I did have a good time. Jose and I had a brief taste of Fallout 4 VR. It's still rough. Like, I mean, the game is still not really designed for VR
No.
yet, but once Bethesda gets there, I'm looking forward to like actually being
That's a
in
real
the
game,
wasteland.
and that's
Yeah.
a game you could spend 8 hours in and not know that you spent 8 hours in VR.
And
Yeah.
even just the thing we played, we were just in like at the Red Rocket thing, and we're just shooting off Fat Man nukes and rapid fire nukes in VR. And you're just like circling around. There's just
Wow.
explosions happening all around you. It's definitely something cool to experience in VR.
I have a Vive.
that he's
at-
never played.
No, it's
He has
it's,
a vibe.
I
'cause
never
he can't-
will.
It's
Even at home.
arrived,
Never
so
will.
in the very, very near future, we'll be setting it up.
When
and-
your hair's nice and crappy
no,
in the morning.
I'm just gonna do it.
Bedhead, get in there.
I'm going to show my crappy bedhead squashed hair, and I'm going to say, see, this is why I never did that. That's all going to be filmed. So I can't wait to get lost in VR. So
Yeah.
you already talked about the one that you love, but were
yeah,
there other surprises?
The Unspoken was my favorite one. But yeah, there were a few other ones I want to talk about. Robinson, which is a game, Robinson the Journey, which is made by Crytek.
Yeah.
That's a PSVR game that is very similar to The Climb, which is one of the better Rift climbing
climb,
games.
yeah.
Now they have the Climb with VR, sorry, with the touch
Touch,
controllers,
yeah.
and
It's
that is
intense.
very tiring. You have to actually like put your hands up and you're climbing, doing
Oh,
free
yeah.
climbing.
How are you climbing? With fingers or all of your hands?
hand,
You're
you're
squishing.
gripping,
Yeah.
Oh,
you're
okay.
using the controllers to
Wow.
grip,
Your
and
way
you're
out.
pulling yourself up and doing this.
Crazy.
But the Robinson is sort of a version of that kind of game, but in a sort of interesting prehistoric world where there's real kind of things happening and gameplay happening around you.
Nice.
I thought that was really cool. And then another Rift game. There weren't a lot of Rift games here. I was surprised. It was more PSVR, not a ton of,
Right.
of companies showing Rift stuff.
Yeah.
But in the Oculus booth, a game called Wilson's Heart, which is made by Twisted Pixel,
Oh, wow.
of all companies. Remember those guys with the goofy, where they made
Yeah.
Mr. Bernie Sticky Face? What's that one?
Jumpman? Or no?
No, the
the,
little fire guy.
Mr. Burns.
I forget.
Mr. Bernie Sticky
No,
Face.
They made
Explosion Man.
the Maw Explosion Man, right?
Explosion
Explosion
Man,
Man. Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
used to making these kind of bizarre platforming games.
Yeah.
This is like a horror movie, so it's all black and white,
Mm.
and it feels like kind of a Frankenstein era horror movie.
Right. Is
But
James
it's
Gunn in it?
I don't think
Remember
James
he was
Gunn is
in
it.
that?
Yeah, yeah.
He was
he
in
was.
one.
You're sort of you wake up, you're like a patient, you kind of pull screws out of your neck, and
wow.
it's a little bit like Frankenstein, but you get into this kind of psychological horror thing. There's a teddy bear that murders a nurse in front of you.
Wow.
It's insane, it's crazy. It's
Sounds like
also
them.
an 8 to 10 hour long game.
Wow.
Legitimate full game. Very interesting, very peculiar, but another cool example of companies who you wouldn't expect getting into VR, like
Right.
like Insomniac and Twisted Pixel. These are legitimate platform game developers who have suddenly pivoted to making these kind of interesting experiences. And that to me is a good story about E3, is watching well-known developers who don't know anything about VR experiment in it.
Right. Yeah,
You
and
know?
that's happening clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, at all levels.
I think the 8-hour game is a good thing, but also I'm okay with like 1 or 2 hour VR experiences
And
if
then
they're
you take it
if
off.
they're
yeah.
priced the right way.
It's
yeah,
a
'cause
little indulgent to think that you'd be in something
it is.
for
Like
that long,
I
right?
played Resident
Yeah.
Evil 7 for probably 15 minutes of VR, and I came out of that a little queasy. That's one of those games because it's playable just without VR.
Right.
And they've made it compatible with VR, with PlayStation VR, and yeah, just your head has a little bit of trouble. The fact you're looking around this and moving with your thumbstick felt a little bit barfy after that. But Arkham VR, that's a great little morsel. That is
Yeah.
Rocksteady saying, okay, we're not going to shoehorn VR into Arkham City or Arkham Knight. We're going to build an experience around being largely stationary or like moving between point to point and being the world's greatest detective. You know,
You're Batman.
scanning
I'm Batman.
stuff.
I was
Is
Batman.
the PlayStation VR still? Is it the most comfortable out of the headsets, or are they
It's
both
definitely,
comparable?
well, the Oculus is pretty comfortable as well.
Yeah, the
it's
Rift-
light.
the
It's
Rift
easy
is
to get
pretty good.
off and on. It's
Yeah.
got some very cool kind of catches and releases.
I
Right.
think there's some problems with light seeping in on PSVR.
Yeah.
Like the bottom here doesn't seal off as well, so because it kind of just sits
You
here.
know, with the Oculus, you take it off, you've got the Oculus.
Yeah, you have
the
Oculus
Oculus
face.
face.
Vacuum
Yeah.
seals to your head.
I also have a certain kind of face that makes things kind of stick out a little funny, so maybe if you have a normal sort of, not as 3D.
I have to give because I forgot to talk about this company, but one of my favorite companies every year here is Devolver, and I went and visited those guys. They're always in a parking lot across from E3, which is also a new theme here at E3. Is it's
Yeah.
like make us walk away from the show to see stuff like EA Play did, and they had some good stuff. But Devolver, I love their tenacity and their originality and their pulling of great ideas from all over the world. They had Broforce on those Polytron arcade things that you could hook up on the
sweet.
wall. It was amazing. And I played a little of the Shadow Warrior 2,
Yeah.
and it looks incredible and felt like a nice
You can
bookend to
chainsaw
Doom.
through people.
A little bit of
Yes,
wang.
you can change, yeah.
Little wang action.
Little wanging. And then Absolver, I heard, was awesome. We couldn't get in. There was no time,
Absolver
though.
was a very cool game. Yeah,
Yeah.
melee kind of online. Not really an MMO. It's a little bit like Dark Souls, where other players can kind of inhabit your world, and you
Love
can
it.
fight with them, and then you can move on. Very stylish, very cool. Really deep combat system. You can like add and subtract moves left and right. You can really build your own fighting character. It's a pretty cool game.
They're such a cool company.
Yeah.
They just bring us
I
original
mean,
ideas.
they have Jose Sanchez over there working
They
on
do
Blockhead.
on Blockhead, yes. All right, so now let's talk about our favorite experience for
My favorite
the,
VR was Fallout.
for the Wii U.
Let me think.
Shit. Did Star Fox come out?
Go down the list.
Star Fox come out?
At
yet?
E3. Which
That
which
new
one?
Metroid game
The new Metroid game.
that I played in my brain.
Well, the Nintendo booth had 140 stations, so there was a lot of gaming to choose from on those 140. stations.
Mario Galaxy Wii U, was that here? Did I see that? Mario Galaxy Wii U?
Oh wait, it was all the same game. That's right.
Tell me about your Zelda playthrough.
I kind of fell out of Zelda. I think a couple Zeldas ago.
Right.
Fell out of love with it. I jumped into Breath of the Wild, which I think is a cool name. You know,
It
most
is.
of the Zelda titles have been like an object or a character. The game world is kind of a character in this, and Breath of the Wild, just like that's what it is. You're dropped in the middle of this expanse to explore it. Yeah, Skyrim's done it. Yeah, everybody else has done it. Yeah, Zelda's now kind of catching up to some other open world RPGs, but it's still Zelda. It is the Zelda flavor finally moving out into this open world thing. I had a blast with it. It's just the combat is fun. It's got like more RPG elements, kind of. It's got crafting stuff. It's just they're taking little tiny tastes of other games and putting them into Zelda, and I can't wait to play it. Like,
Still retaining the accessibility
yeah,
and the
look and the
excellent
feel and the
storytelling, yeah.
and the world.
Humor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was not disappointed. However, I think I will play it on the NX because I mean, the Wii U's a fine piece of hardware, but it's just if you're telling me that there's going to be this world looking way better on
Yeah.
a new piece of hardware,
Yeah.
I've got absolutely no motivation. to
Well,
play
we
the
already
Wii.
went through this with Twilight Princess,
We did,
right?
yeah.
And I don't like this strategy at all. I hate that this is Zelda. We've been waiting for a Zelda on the Wii U, and they just keep pushing it back because they got a new system, and now we're going to get the new system to play Zelda, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. And I'm definitely going to play it because I agree with Steve 100%. It's a lot of fun, even though it's obviously referencing games like Skyrim. But
Yeah.
it does it in such a Zelda way
Yeah,
where
exactly.
you know when you chop down a tree and then you can go over to the tree and chop it up and it's kind of delightful
Yeah.
open world gaming. You
Yeah.
know, it's not as like
Yeah.
serious and heavy duty. You're just
Exactly.
kind of like, oh, run around and do stuff.
I just finished Twilight Princess, and that got a little heavy in some parts. I don't know if you guys remember that game, but it actually was a pretty dark game. And I know-
The one with the wolf.
yeah,
is that the one with the
yeah,
wolf?
the wolf and
Oh,
Midna
yeah.
and the
Oh, yeah.
and Zant and the, the
Was there a
creep-
mask in it?
There were lots of masks and lots of creepy shadowy.
Was there a
creatures.
fairy? Is that the one with the fairy?
Midna.
Is there fairies in it? Okay, she's
yeah,
fairy.
she's the,
Yeah.
she's the queen of the dark. or
What about the
princess of
little?
dark.
What about the little Tinkle? Was he in that? Tinkle?
No, Tinkle in that
Okay,
one. But
sorry.
I feel like this one is going to have some darkness to it, and I feel also the fragility of Link in this open space is pretty apparent. You know, like he's kind of all on his own. I mean, even starts out of this cocoon at the beginning of it, and he's got to equip himself all the way to this.
Yeah, there's very little backstory. I mean,
Yeah.
some Zelda games, they do that. They start dropping into the world, but there's very little. It's basically you wake up 100 years after something, after Ocarina of Time, seems to be
After
the
the last
suggestion.
game.
After they started developing it.
Yeah.
Did you get some hands on something? Did you
Yeah, I
play it?
played the Zelda Scrolls.
Yeah.
It was.
Zelda Scrolls.
It was. I mean, it's Zelda.
Yeah,
It's the one thing they have.
big Zelda.
It's the one thing everybody's been waiting for from
Yeah.
Zelda. They want to play it. Everybody else wants to play it. I want to play more.
I do say, and I know I sound like a social justice warrior or a broken record here, but
You
it's
wanted a new Pokemon game.
No,
Well,
I want.
You got that on the
I
free.
wanted there to be a female variation on this because it really is. It's starting to feel like
Zelda is a female.
but a female hero.
Yeah. Well, I
You
mean,
know?
every Link is sort of a new entity unto himself, so
Yeah.
there's really no reason why.
Or even the option. I mean,
Well,
this
I
would have
mean-
been the game to do it. I mean, there's a lot more sort of customization and a lot more. It looks
You'll
like
get
it.
your new Metroid game soon.
I know.
No, but
I know.
there are two sides to that, right? On
Yeah.
one hand, you could say, look, you're taking a new open world games typically let you choose your gender, and then on the other hand, every Zelda game stars this character. And
Yeah.
like, if this wasn't an open world game, would we all be like, why isn't Link a woman? Like, it feels like it's because of the style of game we suddenly want to gender swap it.
I also
don't know,
feel
I'm okay
like
with it either
that's
way.
a series that's been reinventing itself
Yeah.
and lots of great flavors, except in that direction.
For
When
sure.
are
I
we
think
gonna
it's
get the
not-
Mario Sisters game?
Yeah, well,
When's Candy Kong getting her own
Okay,
game?
good argument, good counterpoint. Let's talk about the Xbox One. What was our most enjoyable game to play on the Xbox One? Go for
I
it.
got one.
Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves
Really?
surprised the hell out of me.
Wow.
I saw the videos, I saw the previews. I'm like, oh, Rare, you have dropped another turd on us
Yeah.
again. I have no interest in this stupid cartoon pirate game.
Yeah.
Sat down to play that thing with 4 strangers, and it was freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
It's almost like Space Team in a way. It's almost like Space Team
Yeah, I
on
guess
a
so,
pirate
right,
ship. It's
yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, you unfurl the sails. You twist the mast. I'm gonna go up with the crow's nest and look out. I'm gonna steer the ship. So you're like coordinating as a crew. And that's just like a small slice of the game. The only thing they were showing at E3 was the pirate ship stuff.
Do you think they're trying to pull from the Minecraft kind of open-ended design kind of
I
concept?
don't know. It's sort of it's like kind of MMO-ish without all the the tables of numbers in front of you. It's kind of like
Right.
an MMO where you're just doing the actions you would do in the world. And it's pirates, man. So me and my crew, we sailed around and we shot at other ships, and somebody fell overboard. We had to figure out how to turn the boat around. There was so much laughter in that demo, and I didn't see that coming. And the design is really cool, and the guys are Rare. They got so much planned for this. They want land-based adventures and going into like dungeons and treasure islands and underwater and all kinds of stuff. So I went from thinking Sea of Thieves to saying, yeah, I'm actually looking forward to trying this.
I was actually really impressed with Halo Wars 2. I thought that Creative Assembly, I know it's weird to talk about an RTS game on a console, and it didn't really work the first time.
Yeah,
And
it is. You're wrong, man.
Yeah, and
good
it's
point.
certainly not perfect, and it's got work. They've got time to finesse and tweak it. But I was actually having a lot of fun. I like the new fiction that they created for it, the new commander, and the ability to crush all the enemies with these amazing powers from the sky. I was really digging it. I thought it was big. It was explosive.
Felt a
and it was
little old to me. Felt a little old time, real time strategy to me.
Yeah.
Felt like a little bit StarCrafty. I don't know.
Yep.
I wasn't super enamored with that one. I thought the best looking game in their booth was Forza Horizon 3.
That was a great
That is an unbelievable looking
and an amazing trailer. One of the best trailers of the show.
Yeah, and really, and you know that game's going to be super fun, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
But for me, the game that was coolest in their little funky booth back there was Tacoma. For me, it's Fulbright, the folks who made Gone Home, and there's some lessons from Gone Home that they're carrying into this game in the sense that it's very narrative focused. It's sort of about exploring the different narrative threads of this world, or not this world, in this story, which is all taking place on a space station. Something's gone wrong.
Yeah.
Kind of feels a little bit like if everyone's gone to the Rapture and Adrift had a baby, it would be
That's
this
cool.
sort of game.
Yeah.
But they do a really cool twist in it where you can rewind the storytelling, and there's 6 characters on the ship that are going all over the place. So you can rewind and follow one kind of down one path, and then rewind back and follow another one. It's a little bit like those murder mystery plays you might go to, where you're in a house and a murder mystery is happening, and you can follow a character through a play. It's
So
like
literate.
an interactive play. Very smart and very like those guys and gals make very interesting games. I mean, Gone Home was an interesting game.
Yeah.
So I think that one is the most kind of risky and compelling game that they're making.
I dug Gears quite a bit too. I know that you're kind of done with
Not
it.
a big Gears guy.
Did you play?
It's very Gears. Yeah, I play it. I don't know. I think maybe 3 or 4 Gears were enough.
When you shoot something, it doesn't feel like you shoot something. That's my problem with Gears.
I've had a break though, so I didn't do the last couple, and I just felt like this was. You guys did the Ultimate Edition, and he did.
What did you think about Gears? Because you and I have reviewed a bunch of Gears
Yeah.
games.
It's more Gears. I mean, like having played the remastered, I wish I wouldn't have played it.
Yeah.
I wish I would have, gotten
Taken
to
a
wait
break.
and had that break in between. Like, I do miss it, But now, like, having gone through and had played and had access to all the old games, especially now that all of them are all playable on backwards compatibility, I dabbled in a couple of them just to see how they feel, But it feels like Gears. A lot of people are going to be excited about that. A lot of people like that Gears style.
But just
of
not
gameplay.
much innovation, especially at a show where God of War comes back looking like
Right.
this, and all
Well,
Yeah, we certainly
Yeah,
didn't
it's
see
games
that.
are being
Yeah.
reinvented. That's not happening.
That,
here.
like both the GOW4 games involve old bearded dad characters.
Bearded dads.
What
lot
was
of
your
beer.
favorite Xbox?
Forza
game?
Horizon 2, I
Yeah.
think, or Forza Horizon 3. Sorry,
yeah.
I forgot.
2 is really good too, though.
Yeah.
Two also really good.
And that is my only issue with Forza is how
Right.
many of these things and how fast
It's
these
not
numbers
just
are
Forza,
going.
right? We're
Yeah.
getting Forza Horizon
I know.
games, and this is like the 5th Forza game
Yeah.
on the Xbox
Since
One.
last Tuesday, I think. Yeah.
So, I mean, the game looks pretty. I like that open worldness of that style of Forza game.
Yeah.
So Forza Horizon 3 is probably the one, since I didn't get to go like behind the closed doors and see any of the secret stuff.
They were certainly on fire with all of that
They
stuff.
had
when
Dead,
it showed
you know,
up.
interestingly, they
Dead
had
Rising
Dead
4
Rising
also,
4
yeah.
here as well.
Yeah.
It was in the Capcom booth, but Capcom wasn't in charge of it. Like, if you wanted to play it, it was
Yeah.
through Microsoft. And I just watched some folks play it, and yeah, that's just Dead Rising.
I mean, there's multiplayer, there's co-op, it's bigger, there's more zombies on there. They figured out some cool new technology to kind of.
Frank West is back.
And Frank West is back. I think that's going to be a blast,
It'll be
but
fun.
it didn't surprise like Days Gone surprised
right.
at the Sony conference. All right, let's talk about PlayStation 4. Favorite experience that you played or saw or you were most impressed by on the PlayStation 4?
Well, I think as we've been saying, God of War in the demo that Corey played when Kratos comes out of the shadows. I mean, the auditorium cheered, and it was because we're seeing not only is Kratos back, but I love the God of War games, but I got so tired of them. By
Yes.
the last one, by Ascension, whatever the last one was, I was like, I'm out. The idea of a God of War game that is still Kratos, but with a fully controllable camera, with
I mean, it's a great comparison between Gears and God of
Yeah.
War, right? Like this was.
they've really, like as Corey said, they basically put all the pieces, they tore it apart, put all the pieces on the floor, and said every piece of this game has now got to justify itself to be brought back in. And I actually thought the demo that they showed wasn't live. We couldn't see the guy. We couldn't see Corey actually playing when we were in the auditorium.
Yeah.
I thought that's like either real or it's like one of these weirdly constrained demos. No, I mean we watched him play it live again, and that is the game. And I mean the fact that even at this early stage it looks so good, and they're still got the flavor, the brutality of God of War and the cool magic weapons, but now it's like Norse gods, man, Scandinavian gods. Like, yes, all right, we've killed the entire Greek pantheon of gods. Every mythological creature in Greece has been slain by Kratos.
Norse.
And now we got, the Norse
Odin.
gods. Yeah, so
I
that.
actually had this weird, crazy theory for a second there. I was like, what is because they were doing the Spider-Man game with PlayStation. Are they now partnered with Marvel? Are we going to see a Chris Hemsworth Thor show up? In
That would be
and then
kind of
we've
weird.
got Kratos.
I don't think I can vote for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, two other things about God of War really quick. There are sort of branching paths, or I should say it's a wider game.
Yeah.
That was one point that Corey made that I thought was really cool, is that it's not just necessarily
very Last of
run
Us.
down the hallway. Yeah, it
Right.
feels a little bit more like that.
Yeah.
And it's just so personal.
Yeah.
And when you talk about Gears of War, it feels so impersonal.
that
You come back to
moment-
God of War and it's like, this is a game that is
Totally.
coming from the developer's heart, and it feels like that.
100%. There's a moment where the kid is about to stab something, and Kratos almost reaches to him.
I was
And then he pulls, and it's just
we
so
just see
subtle.
heart in a God of War game.
I was
Yeah.
having moments. I
Well,
got a son. I'm having moments
Totally,
watching that. Dude.
absolutely, me too. And I think the thing that I really sort of
No
did
moments
me-
for Jose.
He's like,
He is our son.
Kill that deer! Kill that deer! Kill the
kiss
deer!
him off a mountain, and then he died. You're like,
Yeah,
he's
sorry.
back. Kratos is pissed.
Yeah, that's the threat of Kratos, is that he will always go that, and he is like the most abusive father for a moment. It's like, geez, easy on the kid, man.
Kill the deer!
He's got all these scars and scratches the kid does. It's like, what did Kratos do to this
I like how
kid?
his rage meter starts to light up when he's yelling at the kid.
Son of a bitch!
Okay, settle down.
Clean up your goddamn Legos! Clean up your goddamn Legos!
I mean, I don't understand why the kid's such so whiny. So he's got tats. He's all tatted up. And ready
Pretty
to,
rad, yeah.
I'm
It's
like,
a mystery,
But
man.
there was a moment too, playing that and also reflecting on Zelda, that this was almost like the 3D iteration of a Zelda experience. It's like we fleshed out this familiar way to play God of War, and we reinvented it to something that is completely, part of our history and part of our love and lore, and we like all, because God of War 3 was the zenith of them being able to get to that kind of gameplay. And so why continue on that path? And it was a reinvention. That's what Zelda has been doing, and that's exactly the ticket to permanence. That's exactly what happens as you carry a thing through generations.
Right.
And now you throw in the fatherhood stuff and the aging and all. It's really remarkable.
Yeah, I was a little let down by Days Gone, which I thought looked so unbelievable at the press conference. It's like World War Z with, The Last of
Starkiller
Us.
shooting Gollum. And it's like, what happened?
And just like millions of these zombies and it looked so cool. And in the gameplay demo we got to watch that sequence again. He went a couple different directions, so we knew it wasn't that scripted. But then what I actually played felt like another The Last of Us,
Yeah.
just
Very
zombie,
Last of Us, yeah.
like here comes a zombie, shoot
Still
it with a
looks
gun.
good, but
It
yeah,
looks good,
it
but
felt very Last of
it
Us.
didn't feel as inventive as that trailer looked.
No,
So I'm
they didn't
concerned.
let us cut loose, right?
And I'm a
Yeah.
little concerned that the whole game isn't going to be waves and waves of zombies. It's going to be a little more of the quiet bits. I don't know.
think they will.
Well,
I think they will.
not
I think
sure.
Because I mean, this is the thing, right? And it's a post Last of Us world, so the bar has been raised, and they can always say, "Look,
Yeah.
we got to get to that. We'll spend the resources to get to
I
that."
think that the trailer is just, it's so much. If the whole game was that, I couldn't last
Yeah,
more than a
it's
couple
true.
hours.
Yeah.
Like, when are these, when are
a
they going
good
to
point.
stop?
It's a good
When are
point.
they going to stop? Just,
Yeah.
I just need a break, guys.
Yeah.
There's no way that there's all these hordes of zombies who are creeping and crawling all over the place. And even in the demo, like, the zombies, they're not zombies, they're freakers.
Yeah.
They don't seem like they are the most aware things. Like, he'd just be like, "Ah!"
Oh yeah.
and then he would just
Well-
run right past them, and they'd be like,
There's 800 of them on screen at the same time.
Yeah, I mean,
you
really
know?
impressive technically.
Three of them
Yeah.
are smart.
But the AI on 800 characters would probably crush a Cray supercomputer.
Are you saying we
Not
need
if
some
it's
sort of
6
new
teraflops,
powerful
man.
Yeah,
console?
you need the vaporware console.
Jose,
All
what
right.
do you think of Horizon, just really quickly? Because that I
Yeah.
thought was the most, of all their games, that was the most
Ready to go.
playable,
Yeah.
ready to go.
Yes,
Yeah.
I still think the name is off, but the game itself, it's a beautiful looking game. I like
Yeah.
the style. It's something different, you know? It's not something that, this is this kind of game. It's like, oh no, it's got like weird, crazy robots.
It
and-
is a weird idea.
right?
Yeah,
It's like,
but cool.
it's,
yeah.
it's something that's, they tossed their idea hat into something just like, I don't know, let's go with this. And what did it land on? Robots and crazy dinosaur things. A girl
Robot
character with
dinosaurs
sweet
cute.
hair.
Yeah, it's like, is that in Final Fantasy 15? Okay, we'll use that then. We'll put that in it.
Right.
My one concern with that game is when I was playing it, I went to the map and pulled out a bit, and it's like Icon City all over
Yeah.
the map. I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
want this to be
You
too
don't
much
want it
Far
to
Cry.
jump.
Far Cry,
Yeah,
right.
It
You
I
don't
felt
want
a
it
little
to
Far
jump
Cry
there.
Primal a little bit.
But I
yeah.
feel like the characters kind of story is interesting enough, like her being an outcast and
Yeah.
who's her mother and what's this whole world about, what happened to humanity, what's happened in the last 1,000 years. I think that's enough to pull me through it. Like Primal was cool, but Primal was like, dude, game dudes.
Yeah, you don't want to spend this game, Horizon, collecting a million
No.
leaf
Right.
packets every. You don't want to
Yeah,
do that.
no. Was God of War your favorite thing on
I mean,
PS4?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I just, I miss.
Yeah, a unanimous vote, I think. It was pretty unbelievably
It started off that
overpowering,
press
right?
conference, that beautiful stage, that orchestra, that
Yeah.
music, that energy, and everybody
So
was like,
good.
"What the hell is
Dude,
Son of War?"
that troll fight was
Yeah.
bananas. That
Yeah.
troll fight
Yes.
is bananas.
And
I
that's
want to do
probably
that.
like a half hour into the game.
Yeah,
you know, it's like,
I know, right?
Intro.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
the thing
So
about this too
great.
is like he normally God of War, Kratos kills the giant monster, rips its head off. Here he's got the monster down. The kid's gonna shoot it, and the troll says, "Wait!" It makes the kid hesitate. It's
Yeah.
like, well, all of a
There's
sudden,
stuff
like,
happening, man.
Monsters have feelings. The kid, this is
I
a
know.
dynamic
And
lot
then he
kid.
going on.
punches
kid's
the,
gonna-
the
lot.
ice and it shakes
Yeah,
the kid, and
dude.
the kid shoots Kratos.
We're like such nerds. Like, and then the guy had
Yeah,
the
that's
troll
what-
took a
that's
shot,
That's
hit
what
him,
we
and
want. That's what we want out
Right,
of our interactive
exactly.
entertainment. You know, that was amazing.
Yeah.
I think the other PS4, the game that deserves a shout out is Detroit, the Become
Oh,
Human
yeah,
game.
yeah,
I
yeah.
thought that was really powerful and moving as parents too, to watch another kid in peril and to see these androids sort of become so prominent in this game, but then we also see them so big in Infinite Warfare and also in Titanfall a little bit. You know, I mean, it's really become a robot-centric industry.
Which is great. I
Yeah.
mean, even with games like Infinite Warfare, it's
Yeah.
like, it's like Terminator Galactica.
Yes.
It's like I'm shooting robots. It's a cool thing.
It is the
That's cool.
Terminator game we've always wanted, never gotten, and the Battlestar Galactica game we've always wanted.
That's why I said Terminator Galactica.
I know.
I
I'm
put
just,
them together.
I'm just making it clear. For
Oh, okay. But no, like shooting robots is a cool thing.
Yeah.
We're in a day and age where shooting people at certain, in games. It's like
I do find it funny
step
though
back.
that everybody relies on technology in these games to hack into other robots instantly.
Yeah, because
But
robots
what-
are the future, man.
Yeah, but how if
They're the
one
future,
robot can
man.
hack into another robot, or you have two, like, couldn't it be reversed? Like, what? It's just an arms race and hacking tool.
You're asking the
right?
big
Put
questions.
that idea
here.
out
He's
there.
blew
but
my
robots will
mind,
figure it
right?
out.
It's like arm wrestling,
Yeah.
Yes.
robot.
It's just
Hack off.
hacking back and forth.
With
Yeah.
Rock'em Sock'em robots.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so let's talk about the games that we are concerned about, that we saw, that we
I got
think
one.
need much more work and maybe weren't ready for the show floor.
I
Go
got
for
one.
it.
I got
Okay.
one. But this
Yeah.
is not a game that I don't think is ready for the show floor. It's a game I'm just concerned about. It's a game called Mafia 3.
Me too.
And yeah, and I
Yes.
was not a huge fan of Mafia 2, Jose, and I reviewed that game.
Yeah.
And my problems with that game where it's like linearity and kind of it's boring. It just didn't have. It wasn't very exciting.
Yeah.
And this game looks like it's certainly going for the excitement factor, at least in terms of being a big kind
Lot of faces
Grand
being shot off.
Theft Auto kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Yes, it is like. Listen, I know it's a hard week for violence in general, so a lot of games were a little hard to watch. But this was like a half an hour demo. I think there were 90 bodies. And there's no likable characters. Like, I didn't like the protagonist. I didn't like his underbosses. There was no humor. Like, if you're going to do something like this,
Yeah.
kind of a Tarantino, hyper, over-the-top violent game.
Let's get to know these characters a bit.
And you
more.
need a vent.
Yeah.
You need a vent.
Yeah.
And Tarantino does that by having humor and
Yeah.
weirdness and great style. And this didn't have that. It was just,
In the demo.
In the demo.
in the
yeah.
demo, it
yeah.
was just dark and everyone's going to be an asshole and everyone's going to shoot each other.
I'm a fan of Hayden Blackman, and like the stuff that he's done as a storyteller. He's a good writer and a good creative director, and I have faith in the storytelling of this game. They showed us little quick clips and stuff, montages, but I had problems with the control, and I had problems with things sort of clipping and being a little bit weird and trying a little bit sticky on the corners, and I just felt like I wasn't smoothly going through this environment. And the game's out in about 3 or 4 months. It's out in October.
Yeah.
So that is what concerns me the most. Is that I think this will be a big epic escape, but I think it's going to be a bit buggy.
I just
you know?
don't- I don't-
hope they have enough time to smooth it all out.
I just don't think we need it. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Grand Theft Auto. If you're going to do another Grand Theft Auto,
Yeah.
and if this is set in a cool kind of take on New Orleans, and I
68.
like the fact that the protagonist is an African American who was
Yep, me
in
too.
the army. There's like an interesting story there, but you got to fill it with something that makes it. You gotta lighten it. You can't
Yeah.
just make me go around murdering more people. We've done that for so many years in video games. Grand Theft Auto always has style and humor and weirdness that happens that makes you kind of fall in love with the colorfulness of the
There's
world.
such a huge cast of characters in those games too.
Yeah.
And this is, I mean, granted, it's just a brief demo that we all saw.
Not a
because
great
you couldn't
start
play it.
for
me. Yeah.
So it's just like, here's why these guys are so pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why they're shooting things.
That's been a problem with Mafia. They've been a little too
I mean, it's a
overstuffed.
Mafia game. It's not
I
like
know, but they've had to
Have to
be
Full Pigeon.
they've had to
Have
be
to Full
too
Boyfriend.
self-serious and overstuffed with things.
Yeah.
Did you play something that kind of made you worried for it?
I mean, it's tough. Like, I didn't really get to play a lot. There was a lot of demos. There wasn't a lot of
Yeah.
playable things
Okay.
unless you were going to be waiting in the lines. And a lot of the times, we're going around and we're looking at things, and it's just quick, brief demos. If there was a game I was worried for,
Yeah.
I would say, even though I didn't get to play it, I have high hopes for it. Last Guardian.
Yeah.
Because it's been 9 years, right? Or
Yeah.
like 7, 8 years. I
And
think
it
9
wasn't
years. It was
really-
2009 it came out, so 7
It
years.
should have been playable on the floor, I feel, right?
And they have a giant, cool, crazy Last Guardian like statue
Yeah.
thing that, or like wall that you can play with.
Yeah.
But like, it's not that I'm scared for the game. That's going to say. I just really hope it delivers
Yes.
because they've been working on this game for so long, and so many
there
people.
couldn't be more expectation.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like coming out
It's
of
gonna
it.
it's gonna let us all down a little. Like there's no way it can be.
It's like waiting 9 years for E3.
Yes, or for a cupcake.
Yeah.
Like that cupcake is never going to be as
You
good
know,
as
it's
like,
fucking
I haven't eaten a
cupcakes
cupcake
ever
in 9 years. I'm waiting for my cupcake. I'm going to be like, it's all right. It's vanilla. I mean, it wasn't that good. It was just like a vanilla cupcake.
Yeah, but like last year, I was one of those people that was just blown away by the fact that it was there. They said
Yeah.
it was going to be coming real
Were
soon.
you crying?
I wasn't crying.
Come
I
on,
was
were you
just,
crying?
I was
Little cry, little
just-
tear?
just
had,
like a single.
You were sweating.
Yeah, it was the sweat from how
Okay.
hot it was
Yeah, okay.
from the fire that PlayStation delivered last year. But no, like I was one of those people that couldn't believe that it was actually a thing and they hadn't forgot about it. And now
Yeah.
that we're finally going to get it in a few months, it better fucking deliver or there's going to be
Fingers
hell to pay.
crossed.
Yeah,
Please.
release dates are just release suggestions these days, guys. Remember.
How about you, Steve?
The stuff I played, I think probably Ghost Recon Wildlands was the game that did not overwhelm me.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much competition now in the open world space.
Right.
Even within
And-
Ubisoft, right? Like Rainbow Six. and
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm not sure what they're bringing to the table that we haven't played before. It's got a little bit of Just Cause, but not extreme and funny the way Just Cause is.
Yeah.
And like a little bit of GTA, but again, we've
Not as funny or not as
Yeah.
clever as GTA.
It reminds
I
me
don't
a lot,
think there's going to be
actually.
any fun, any funniness coming
No,
out of it.
well, actually, I did have fun playing. We went through a very structured demo with somebody from Ubi, and then we got kind of turned loose playing again. I'm like, I'm jumping in the helicopter. I don't know how to fly this thing. Get in, everybody.
That's what happens.
Now I'm bailing
it
out.
turns Ghost
Yeah.
Recon into the A-Team, right?
Exactly.
You just bumble your way
But
through
I
these
feel like
missions.
they maybe should have even pushed a little harder than that. Like I know it's
Yeah.
very serious. Like, killing the Mexican drug lords in Bolivia,
Yeah.
whatever sense that makes.
The cartel in
Yeah.
Argentina or something. It was just so complicated. Like and it felt like
That's Ghost Recon. That's Tom Clancy, man.
yeah, but it also just felt a little like just everybody who's brown just kind of shoot them. Like it was just like it was over the top in that sense, and it
Yeah.
didn't deliver again right like some levity or
Yeah.
something to kind of make
Everybody
it.
is brown.
I have,
was
Far
so
Cry
good.
I
does
have
that
two.
so well.
I have another Ubisoft game. Steep, beautiful. Didn't really do anything. I felt
Yeah.
like I jumped off mountains and went through circles.
I feel like it should have been a VR game.
Yes, and it also just, I mean, if just a hint of objective, you know, just a little bit more. Beautiful.
And control a little better.
Yeah,
you
it
kind of
was-
wanted some of the SSX snappy
Yes,
kind of control
That's the
in there.
challenge.
You know?
Is we've played other action sports games that have blown our minds.
Yeah.
But the other one was Sea of Thieves, and I don't know if it's because I
Is it
want.
playable in VR?
I don't think it is, but maybe it will be. I honestly believe that it has trouble. It might have trouble actually shipping, and you know, I feel.
It's a game about sailing on the seas.
I feel like.
the shipping.
Oh,
is no
I
problem.
get it.
Yeah.
you're in a ship.
I feel like there's. I mean, they showed us a sliver. I
yeah,
get it.
sliver, yeah.
I don't know what the objectives are, but maybe if it's kind of like a Minecraft, you build
Play
your own
pirate,
thing.
man. Just play
Yeah.
pirate.
I had an okay time. I salute the cleverness of it, but I've played better pirate games.
I think my crew
it's
was
the-
drunk, and that's seriously why we're
I
out.
think if you
Yeah,
get
if you're drunk, it's fine.
games get a lot
Recore
more
also not
Yeah,
the
it wasn't
greatest showing here
blown away
either.
by
Kind of
Recore
mediocre.
either, and that's coming
Yeah.
up quickly.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the. I think we all know, but the best game of E3 2016.
Well, I gotta give a little some runner-up prizes to Dishonored 2, which we didn't even mention.
Oh my
Which
gosh,
was
Dishonored
fantastic.
2.
Yeah.
Yes. Holy moly.
Horizon, I had a lot of fun with. I think a lot of people came to this E3 looking for Zelda to fail, and the fact that it didn't fail really impresses me. I don't think that game's going to disappoint. I had a great time with it. Like I said, I was kind of out of Zelda. This is going to pull me right back in. I think Zelda might be my game of E3.
Okay. I'm going to say God of War, but it was really hard to decide between Zelda and God of War. They're just both so amazing, and I think God of War just took a card right from Zelda's playbook or a page from the playbook,
Yeah.
and it's amazing. What do
I
you
think it's
say?
all about which game, you know, it maybe is most exciting for you to really be in that world and inhabit that character and play through that experience. And both Zelda and God of War offer totally different things that I love about video games. Zelda is
Yeah.
going to give me the kind of whimsy that I love and kind of a fantastical land. And God of War is going to maybe give me that with some emotion. And that's surprising to get that kind of emotion out of God of War. I think that's the biggest surprise for me. It's a game I'm most excited to actually, I didn't get to really play it. They didn't really have it playable, but you watched people play it. I was jealous the whole time. I think that's my game of show.
You, brother?
Gwent.
Gwent.
Gwent, hands
God
down.
damn it.
That's my biggest surprise.
That's
Have
a
you-
great looking game.
What is it?
No, I mean honestly, God of War looks great.
Yeah.
Looks phenomenal. Also Zelda. It's hard to pick
I know.
between those two.
Amazing.
I feel like I will definitely finish God of War
Right.
in like a couple of sittings. Zelda's going to be a game I'm going to want to experience and play through for a while.
Honestly, you need them both, right? Those are
Yeah,
the
I mean
two
you have.
games.
If you need that
Well,
lightheartedness,
if you like
you're going
video
with Zelda.
games, get them both, right?
If you want your
And I think we need to also give a big shout out. You mentioned Dishonored, but first-person shooters were ferocious at this show.
Battlefield.
Battlefield 1, excellent. Titanfall,
Beautiful.
and
Call of Duty's good
and
this
Call
year,
of Duty,
yeah.
Infinite Warfare, incredible.
and the Modern Warfare remaster.
And Modern Warfare, amazing. We had a lot of good games, not tons of surprises, but I think we all had fun. Thank you, gentlemen. That's it for Vic's Basement this week, and from E3, we'll see you next week.
We did it!
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Esports.
Stitcher!
Esports.
Hey, thanks for checking out that video on our EPN channel. It's just one small part of the things that we make around here. So if you liked it, don't forget to check out some of our other vids and hit that subscribe button.